round 3, it's the last round in Karlsruhe before we move to Baden-Baden. And again, some spectacular games, I think, today. Start off with the game Meier against Caruana. It's the position we have here on the board. And Grandmaster Peter Leko is going to explain to us what's going on.
Yeah, it's a very interesting opening phase. Georg Meier decided to repeat 1e4. And it was clear that his intention is to surprise Fabiano and get some interesting double-edged position. However, Fabiano reacted very, very well. First of all, chose a sideline, but finally it turned out that he had prepared 4 years ago this novelty, which g7, g5, which he managed to use exactly today. However, as it's often the case, you get the chance to use your novelty when you are least expecting it to happen. So I guess he knew the idea. It's extremely unbalanced position. With g5, black stops the idea from white to play bishop e3 to f4, putting pressure on the diagonal. And after g5, black is threatening to play knight g4 with attack against the h2 pawn and the dark squared bishop. So it's kind of logical for white to react with h3 or with f3. But for example, after f3, black has the surprising break f7, f5. And it's clear that the position is very double-edged. So white chose the move knight f3, which is very, very logical. After all, you are attacked on the king side, so why not to exchange the queens? But it turned out that after knight f3, rook g8, h4 was, of course, a very ambitious move, but it's again a very principled move, because if white is not trying to make immediately use of this this situation, then black will just get a comfortable game. So it was principled, but this allowed black to get some terrific initiative after queen g6, h takes g5, knight g4, bishop f4, h6, opening up the files. And now white is just not able to take g takes h6 because of moves like knight h2, and black is most probably winning here. So the game continued with knight c3, and here already all kinds of mating ideas were looming in the air. For example, after h takes g5, bishop takes c7, rook h8, it seems that black simply checkmates the white king. However, white has the defensive, somewhat surprising defensive resource with the knight, transferring it to g3, protecting the mate on h1. And then it's also not exactly clear how black should continue. So finally, Fabiano decided to postpone this. And instead of going immediately for this, he included some moves with bishop e6 and later went for this attack on the h-file. It was extremely difficult to play it with white, because you are always constantly threatened with this mate, and white could somehow combine play on the king side with central play. And it was a fascinating game, which finally ended with a spectacular mating attack by Fabiano.
Okay. Meier was also a bit short on time, wasn't it? It's extremely difficult.
Yeah, extremely difficult, but basically he was faced with this very dangerous novelty with g5, and things got out of control right away. If he would have not played h4, then maybe he could have still had a safe choice. But if he would have chosen a safe choice, it would have meant that he gives up any hope of fighting for some advantage or some initiative, and black would be absolutely comfortable. So in this sense was a logical choice, but Fabiano, with very nice play, punished it.
Okay. Let's go to the next game. Another win for Maxime Vachier-Lagrave with black pieces. Did you see that game? And how do you?
Yeah, that was a much more peaceful game. It was a strategical battle. There was some kind of a surprise in the beginning, because Huifan usually plays e4, first move, but she chose to play double fianchetto. So it was a positional struggle, very interesting positional struggle. And it seemed that Maxim solved all his problems quite easily in the opening phase, and however was not clear who plays for what in that situation. I had the feeling that both players were trying to keep chances, so it was not the aim of any of the players to go for safety and exchange everything. So we saw quite a lot of dynamics, even so that the position seemed symmetrical. And there was a moment when Hui Fan maybe overpressed or thought that she should be ambitious with Queen E3, but it turned out to be a mistake. And Black took over the initiative, and the move Bishop A6 was practically a killer. Objectively, White could have defended with Bishop F3, which was the only move, but again, with little time and with a shock that the situation turned so dramatically, I somehow had the feeling that it's extremely difficult to find that only move Bishop F3, and after a few moves, White's position just collapsed, and Maxim won very confidently.
Yeah, he's now 2.5 out of 3, taking a good score with him to Baden-Baden. He lost 2 rounds, I think, last year, so
yeah,
quite an improvement, I think.
It's definitely very good improvement. And he also needs the confidence, because I think now after the rest day in Baden-Baden, the first game will be between Magnus Carlsen and Vachier Lagrave. So when you have such a big clash, it's always nice to be ready with a good mood.
Talking about Carlsen, he drew against Bluebaum today, and we have 2 more draws, Anand versus Aronian and Naidic against Vityukov. Any moments in those games that were particularly
I think the opening phase was very interesting in the game Bluebaum Carlsen, because Carlsen again repeated the King's Indian with Black, so with the clear intention that he wants to get a huge fight and chances. However, finally the position was always balanced. Carlsen won a pawn but had to give up his dark squared bishop for it, so White had great compensation, so Magnus decided to give back the pawn in order to get rid of this dark squared bishop, and then the position was basically completely drawn. However, there was a dramatic moment when Bluebaum missed this knight g4 move, this intermezzo knight g4, which caused a big shaking of head by Matthias, because first I think he was just in shock, as in the first round he exactly lost with the same motive against Vityugov. However, he gathered himself and discovered that he has only moves, but good only moves, and finally stabilized with this g4 queen e3 move, and after that it was obvious that the game will end in a draw. In the other games, Anand Aronian was a very interesting opening. I think that we have seen some very nice finesses. Levon decided not to include h6 in a line where usually they always include h6 bishop h4. So I think theoretically this game was very important. Vishy tried something but didn't really get anything out of the opening. It was a middle game with more or less equal positions, so the game was kind of logical. Finally, it ended with a logical repetition of moves. And we had the game Arkady Naidic versus Nikita Vityugov, which started as a well, D3 Spanish, but it kind of felt like some anti-Berlin or Italian Giuco piano. And the same ideas were implemented in this game with very sharp and double-edged bishop g5 idea. And we have seen that there is this reaction with Black to go h6 g5 and then try to get knight to h5. The knight from c6 was maneuvered to g6. White's knight from b1 was going quickly to e3 via f1. So a lot of fine maneuvering. I think both players played very good, and neither side really got any chances at the end. So it was double-edged but well played by both players, and it was a logical end. It was a draw.
Okay. So that's for the classic for today. But it was also an open tournament here in Karlsruhe, and we have a winner, Vincent Keimer, well known to you. You must be very proud. You revealed it in the commentary, I think, for the first time that you were the coach of Vincent Keimer. So how do you feel right now? What's going on? What is your first impression?
Well, I'm extremely happy and very proud for him. It's a sensational result. He just wrote history here. It was phenomenal to see how confidently he played. He had incredible opposition. One of the most important things was already that with the victory in the 8th round, he secured his Grandmaster norm, already even more than that. So he could play the final clash with Richard Rapport in the last game, already relaxed. I mean, under the circumstances, you are basically fighting for the first place in one of the greatest open tournaments in the world. So I'm not sure how quiet or calm you can be, but I mean, Vincent has mastered a very difficult situation because Rapport was giving it all. After all, if Rapport wins that game, then he had chances to win the tournament. So under this immense pressure to navigate in all these complications against Richard, it was real world class.
Yeah, Vincent was so kind to show us a couple of highlights from that game already, how we escaped and then came back to win the game. Yeah, that's really...
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, okay, we are working now since half year together, and I have noticed right from the beginning that he's an exceptional talent and also a fantastic kid. And this combination is, I think, just wonderful. And I really hope that he can stay like he is, because he is just super kind, super nice. At the same time, he loves chess. He's ready to fight at the board. He's ready to handle any kind of situation perfectly. So I really believe that he has a very bright future ahead of him.
But you're now a bit ahead of schedule, I think, doesn't it? It was not expected to win this tournament this year already.
Okay, I mean, such thing you can never plan. We are just doing our job. We are working very seriously, very hard. I have already worked quite a lot in his openings, but still a lot of work ahead. I'm also working with him not only about the openings, end games and middle games, and I have seen that he has this very special something which you cannot learn. Whether you have it or not, a feeling for the small nuances, and it comes so natural for him. And the first time we started working was already during the Under-20 World Championship in Tarvisio, and he was not yet 13. Just during the tournament he turned 13, and it was such a pleasure to see him when he showed his games and he explained about all the finesses. It was not just about tactics. Because he can do fantastic tactics, he's very good at calculating everything, but what really most impressed me is the feeling for all these small nuances which usually is there when you are like a world-class player. So it's a pure pleasure working with him.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to the work we're going to do with Vincent Keimer and with you and Vincent, of course. All the best for the future. Thank you very much here for this recap.
Yeah, thank you very much as well.
Bye.
Thank you.